It's the Anfield wrap. Neil Atkinson, Gareth Roberts, Ben Sharples and Ian Salmon with you for the next hour or so. Ben's from Michael Lowry, we'll be talking about that later, getting into all that sort of stuff with what they're doing at Liverpool and all that carry on. But before we get into even the football last night, after Liverpool beat Arsenal by 0-0, Dave Sutton asks the opening question, and it is this: if you were the villain in Batman, who would you be? Either existing or new. So you can create your own one, or you can have, say, the Joker. So if you got to be the villain in Batman, Ian Salmon, who would you be?
Well, I saw this and I was going to pull on my geek credentials as a long time Batman reader of 40 odd years and go for somebody really, really obscure, but there's only the Joker, really. You don't want to be anybody else. The Joker's the ultimate villain. He's the one. He defines Batman. Without him, Batman has no reason to exist.
Okay, firm. I don't really know what we do next, Ben. Who would you go for?
I think it'd have to be Bane, wouldn't it?
Bane?
He's just a beast, isn't he? I think he's the one villain probably you'd be most scared to come up with. The others are all a bit crazy, but most of them are just psychopaths. But I think you could deal with them. Hey, I can do a good Bane.
Go on, do you good Bane?
Hang on, let me grab this glass.
What's he grabbing here? He's grabbing a glass. Okay, go on. Go on.
I was born in the darkness.
Excellent stuff. I'll be the Riddler. I like crosswords and all that carry on. I've just took you. You're going to be the Riddler?
I was going to be the Riddler, yeah.
Why were you going to be the Riddler?
Because he has a laugh, doesn't he? And like he gets to write things, and like I like a bit of writing, so I was going to do, you know, as well as like going around fucking Batman's life up, I could write a bit as well. So I thought that was all right.
Would you write in that handwriting on that note there?
Yeah, that's my normal writing. And what's wrong with that?
Probably properly fuck up Batman that one.
I know, I'd be like, what does this say, mate? I mean, the Joker thing's interesting as well, because for some reason, I'm still not sure why, loads of lads in my school called me the Joker, and it wasn't because like I was joking round.
I wouldn't have thought so. No.
They said like when I laughed I looked like the Joker, which I don't. But so I could have got him for that reason, but I'm going the Riddler as well, mainly because I don't know anyone else, by the way.
Back when my face was slimmer, when I was a younger man, I could do the sort of the Joker pulled face of Jack Nicholson quite well. Yeah. You can see
that's what they were saying. That's what they were saying about my normal smile, the cheeky bastards.
This hasn't stuck with you, has it?
No. I remember it well, going on a school trip and just getting ripped there and back, getting called the Joker. I was like,
I bet you didn't take it well.
I didn't, no.
No. All right. Just got that hint. Arsenal 0, Liverpool 0. Oh, good lord. Ian Salmon, it was a game of two halves.
It was a game of at least two halves, possibly more. It was, I was saying to Andy before we went on, it's the longest game of football I've ever seen.
Oh, we were saying that when we were watching it in the pub. Honestly, that first half must have took about 4 or 5 days.
I think that first half's still going on now. I think it could be happening while we're speaking. It was unreal. I was sitting there, obviously, to give a mention to my lovely Evertonian wife again, my lovely Evertonian wife was sitting there tutting loudly at the amount of football that was going on in the corner that didn't involve her, and I was sitting there thinking, this can't be a boring game, this is a fantastic game of football, but this isn't half going on, this game of football. This is going to last for the rest of the evening. With first half, we're absolutely magnificent. I thought, hit the bar in the first 3 minutes, shaky 7 minutes after that, and then we just suddenly start building, and we become relentless. We're a steamroller, and we're just keeping going forward. It was gorgeous to watch.
It was so tense, wasn't it, Ben? I mean, that's the thing. I was an absolute bag of nerves. That's why it felt so long that first half. There was just it's what Arsenal are like, because every time they get the ball, you think they could score from anywhere in the pitch. They could score
with the quality that they've got. Even when we were on top for so long in that first half, I was just thinking, like, we need to capitalise here, because the quality that they have, even when they're having a bad game, if one of those special players just comes up with the magic, like, they can break the deadlock. So I was a bit nervous when we didn't score in that first half, but
it was. I mean, it's an offside goal, Gareth. You know, we can be clear about this. The goal should stand. I quite enjoyed the needle from the manager afterwards saying his shirt was offside. It doesn't work like that. But you know, it should stand. But then we should go in ahead. Ian's right. We turned the screw, and by the time half time came, the thing was, I spent most of half time, and I'm watching it with Ben Johnson, and at about 35 he says, no one say we'll get in at half time here, and then we'll say just get in at half time, because you were saying that last year, and then they scored 3 in about 4 minutes. So, but the thing that was happening was, when half time actually came, you didn't want it. You got through the whole half thinking, oh, let's just have half time, let's just get to 0-0. But then suddenly when it got to 45, you were thinking, oh, can we play another 5 here, because we're on top.
I mean, and this is the thing though, isn't it, that you do view matches in terms of how you've got on there before, and you presume the players do as well, and like, what I liked about the whole performance really was like we played as though all that didn't matter. You know what I mean? For once, Liverpool seemed to play with a bit of freedom, not as though they were going, shit, these are Arsenal and we always do crap at the Emirates. It was like they played as though they were happy in how they were set up. They were happy in how they were playing. They knew what the jobs were. And all right, it wasn't absolutely perfect across the 90 minutes, and there's things to improve on and all the rest of it. But I loved it. I loved the performance, because the first thing I demand as a fan watching Liverpool is that everyone in the shirt fights. Everyone, you know, does everything they can, everything within their power to try and win a game, or to try and not lose as well. And I think we saw that. I think, you know, perhaps I think I've struggled as a substitute, but perhaps him aside, I think almost every player who was involved did something that you could say, do you know what, they can go back in the changing rooms after that and go, I've done all right there.
It was how rattled Arsenal were, Ben. We actually had them. That first half, we had them absolutely. They became as rattled as we were starting. Definitely,
I think they were taken a little bit by surprise, because they just couldn't get the passing going at all. And I think that midfield three, I was a little bit worried, but obviously not having Henderson and Lallana in there. But I think they did a brilliant job, and especially Lucas coming in. I think he kept it really tight in there and just nullified like Cazorla and Ozil. They just didn't get that opportunity to get in those spaces.
It gets to half time, Ian. You know, Ben's completely right there. That midfield three had shut them down and made it really, really hard for them to pass and pass. That, you know, to do what they want to do, which is open it up. And yeah, they should have had a goal. You know, a goal disallowed there. But let's be clear. I think the first one from Benteke, it is a miss, but it's a fantastic piece of goalkeeping simultaneously. And the second one that he pushes on the post from Coutinho, it is just simply a fantastic piece of goalkeeping. I mean, he's done brilliantly there, Czech.
Completely. He's saved them in that first half. We could have been 3-0 up at half time quite easily. There is, as Ben said, there are those moments where you look at Arsenal and think they are going to cut through us in a minute. They will cut through us. But as the half wore on, you're kind of like, well, we can see the shield. We've got this one, and we've got the four in front, and we've got the four lads in front of Lucas, and it doesn't look like anyone's getting past this. And you can see what Brendan was saying about dominating the space. Where they're asking Carragher and Neville, what's he mean, dominate the space? And they're like, I don't know. Well, that's what he means. Yeah. We had the space. The ball wasn't getting through us. We were intercepting things. We were taking control of the whole pitch. But for Czech, that first one, I'm torn on the first one on Benteke's miss. I think he was trying to put the ball.
I want to pull back on this. So when he says dominating the space, they go to Neville and Carragher, and Neville and Carragher are like, I don't know what he means there.
Yeah.
All right, okay. I would have thought the pair of them would have known what that was.
I would have thought so. I didn't think it was a mystifying sort of explanation.
It's something Mourinho does quite often, where you sort of control the game, as we did for 45 minutes. You can control the game without necessarily having to have the ball all the time.
And we had about 37% possession, something daft like that.
Yeah, it's but the lowest under Brendan, isn't it?
Yeah, we controlled the pitch.
It's what Chelsea did to us in that game in April when we needed to win to carry on going, you know, towards the title, and
hadn't on the ball and just picked us off.
And you know, this is the thing, isn't it? And it's another thing that I like about it. Again, I mean, you know, I think a lot of stuff's been levelled at the manager since he's been here, and one of them is that he's too idealistic, and that, you know, talking about tiki-taka and Barcelona and all the rest of it isn't realistic when we haven't got those players. And I think last night he's just gone, this is and what he said himself, he said, we've watched the last 10 times teams have won against Arsenal, and he said you don't necessarily have to have the ball.
Well, second half, moving into the second half, Ben, Arsenal were very good. I mean, they were turning the screw on Liverpool. There was, you know, up until about 70, sort of 45 to 70, you thought there's a goal coming for them here, and then I think they probably tired a bit, but they were impressive. I mean, they're a really good side. It was a very good game between, I think, two really good football teams, and Arsenal were good.
Yeah, they were brilliant. I think when we went in at half time, I was thinking we should have scored there, because I just knew there was no way they were going to come out in that second half and be as bad as they were in the first, and they did improve and they got better, and I thought we were going to concede, and obviously they came close a couple of times, but I think that we did a really good job of limiting their chances to what they did have. You know, like that the back four was so compact, and I was a little bit worried about that, because they had a lot of space like down the channels, down the flanks, but I think keeping the compact there stopped them from playing all those little 1-2s in in and out.
Limiting the chances, Ben says there, that's the thing I took from it, in that you were thinking, because it's Arsenal, Ian, you're thinking it's coming, and you're waiting for the little reverse pass, that little thing that they do, it's coming. But there was the one clear-cut chance. Giroud should score, but it's an excellent save from Mignolet.
Oh, it's a fantastic save. I mean, he claws that off the line. That's brilliant, that.
But they never quite got all the clear-cut chances you were expecting. For instance, you know, you look at Manchester City's second half performance against Everton, where they scored 2 and they should probably score 4.
Yeah.
Arsenal never got to that pitch against us, and you felt we retained a threat. However good Arsenal were, you felt that we retained a threat. You were actually thinking we could do this. Yeah,
you always thought that there was something we could rob. I just want to return to that first half question a second. The Benteke shot that people are putting down for a miss, I think he's trying to put it under the keeper. I think Cech does a superhuman dive to get that low. Most goalies aren't getting there. He's putting it where most goalies aren't going to hit the floor. I think it's a better save than it is a miss. But yeah, second half, I think we're building on that back four now. That there was a wonderful moment where Skrtel actually got skinned in the area for the first time, and all of a sudden Lovren, who you hadn't seen, slides through and takes the ball cleanly. So there was always that fact that we were limiting them to half chances and snatch chances. And if we played them, if that game happened in October, Cazorla's sharper, Sanchez is sharper, Giroud's sharper, but so is Benteke and Firmino and Coutinho.
And storage is available.
We will be as good as them, if not better than them, for the rest of the season. We look fantastic. But the way we can set up now, defensively, looking that solid for the first time ever, with Lovren playing alongside Skrtel, who we've all criticised, it's a fantastic performance against a very good Arsenal team.
I thought what was impressive, Gareth, was legs were going. I mean, you got to be honest, Lucas's legs had gone for I think 5 minutes before he gets taken off. You can see understandable lack of match sharpness there.
But also the amount of work
he's getting through. Firmino comes off and he looks goosed. The last thing he does before he gets taken off is the sort of act of a man who knows, I'm about to get taken off here and I'm shattered, let's just have one more go. There's Liverpool tired in the legs, but what was impressive was normally when you watch a football team tire, they knock off mentally, and they knock off mentally either first or they knock off mentally as the legs begin to go, because you can only do so much, and you know it's so hard to keep it up. Liverpool's mental focus, I thought, was so impressive. It was real. This is a real elite footballer stuff. This is we're not gonna stop here. Every single one of them, whether you're 18 and you're Joe Gomez, or you Lucas, until the point at which you come off, every single one of them, Milner, the mental focus was really impressive.
Yeah, the collective spirit as well has just been absolutely transformed. I mean, it's something that I think it's still okay to reference because it's not that long ago. The 6-1 at Stoke was a disgrace. I'm stood there, I'm watching it, goal after goal fly in, and I'm not seeing anyone really looking that arsed about it or looking to do something about it. And I don't think this side already would allow that to happen. You're seeing an absolute gnarliness, an absolute fight among all of them. And it's like, and I think Milner's probably the one that represents it most, and I think maybe him being there is lifting people around them to play in the same way. And I like, the little things, almost cliche things, but I like them, like the fact that they're getting in that huddle, the fact that they're all coming out second half together like a team. And it's like, it doesn't feel like just a bunch of individuals that, there's a lot of players there still, in their infancy of the Liverpool career, not least Gomez, who you've mentioned, 18 years old, not a left back, looks like he's been playing there for years, looks like he's potentially a solution to a problem position for Liverpool. I thought he was absolutely brilliant, and I can't rave enough about his performance, to the point that I want to go and buy shirts with his names on the back, like Gibbo was going on about in the match ratings about Coutinho. How he was feeling about Coutinho was how I was feeling about Gomez. Literally punching the air watching his performance, thinking yes. when he burst through and took it into their half, I was shouting all over the show. Mrs. is looking at me like I was an absolute loon, but it was brilliant to see. And that, like I said earlier, that spirit, that fight, that's what I want from Liverpool. And I think the rest can come later, the partnerships, the link ups, more goals. But now already as well, I think everyone was looking at the fixture list and saying Brendan's got no chance here. There's no wonder that he was favourite for the sack. Look at those aways. Well, Stoke's boxed off. Arsenal, we could have won, and a draw is a good result that most people would have taken before the ball was kicked. And all of a sudden, Old Trafford, Goodison, wherever you want, really. I feel
You're
now.
looking forward to watching Liverpool in those games, aren't you?
Yeah.
You know, I'm looking forward to us going to Old
Yeah.
Trafford. I'm certainly looking forward to the derby.
Yeah.
You know, I think that Everton are going to come up against Brendan's Dogs of War in the derby. You know what I mean? I think that's what you're suddenly looking forward to, those games, watching Liverpool in those games, seeing what they're going to do and how they're going to try and deal with Man United.
Absolutely, and like, you know, like I say, not so long ago, it was almost you were dreading that, and you could feel the wider football world pointing a finger at us and saying they've got no chance here. He's going to get sacked. They're going to lose all these games, and all of a sudden, like, you look around the league, and of course, you know, it's always with the caveat that it's early days, that it's only 3 games in. But you know, I think you can look around at all the other teams and go, well, who's miles ahead of us here? Who's miles better than us?
There's no one.
Exactly.
No one.
Man City look good.
Man City look
very. They do look good.
Well, take them out the equation.
But I don't think they're miles ahead of us. I think they look very good. They look very efficient. They've added the clinical edge to the game, but they don't look like they're in a different league to us. 3 months ago, we looked like we were in a different league. We looked like we could never break the top 4. At the moment, I'm back to where I was 2 years ago. I'm gutted that I've got to wait until Saturday to watch this again. Yeah. I want to see another game now. I want to just do that, which might be a bit demanding on the lads after that kind of performance. that kind of 90 minutes probably good. Yeah,
I think they'd be all right.
Milner will be fine. Milner will probably still going now.
This is the thing, isn't it, Ben? You're excited to see them now. It's nice to have that excitement. You didn't want to lose it, and you know it's great to have your football like that. And you know, these gents are right. It's suddenly you want to see this football team play, and you're not scared of who they face. Yeah,
it's brilliant. I think obviously, like, last couple of seasons, well, go back to 2 seasons ago, like, the football that we watched was unbelievable, and it was outstanding. But I'm looking forward to this season, to watching Liverpool play, and not every time the other team's attacking thinking they're going to score. Like, even just 3 games gone, I feel so much more confident watching the team. I don't feel like we're going to concede every time a team's attacking, whereas we were just so liable to.
Last thing before we get into the player by player, Robbo, how exciting was Moreno's run?
Oh my word!
I was gutted. He should have squared it, shouldn't he? But
it was just when he was coming through. I just thought there was this moment where he charges through, and we're out watching it, and he's charging through, and he just when he finally goes wrong, I just think, it's probably for the best he didn't score. Otherwise, I'll still be out for about 3 days. I think if he'd have put that in, I think, you know, it would have been time for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I love the way it's almost like like they've got him on a leash somewhere at the ground, and, like, you know what I mean, like, all of a sudden on 80 odd minutes or whatever, they go on Albie lad, go out,
have a run.
Yeah, go have a run, lad. And he's like, you know, this mad fella legging it at goal, and it's like, yeah, when he did that, it was like, you know, the clock's counting down, and you're thinking, I'll take the draw now, you know, to be honest, I'm alright with this is alright. And then he does that, and, like, you know, I had the dog bark, and I had the missus jumping off the couch, everything, like, go on Albie lad, go on lad, oh, you know what I mean, knocking things over like I am in the studio now. It was just, what a moment that would have been if that had got in.
It was Scrappy do, Heaton's Scrappy do.
But he's like, you know, he's another one as well where, you know, it's early doors and all the rest of it, but he now looks like an option. He looks like he can play himself back in. You know, you're happy for him to come off the bench and do that madness because he wants to be facing that.
Well, that's the same run he made against Bournemouth as well, isn't it? It's the same run twice on the. Just stick him on 80 minutes. Just there you go, lad.
Yeah, go on,
do
lad,
that
do
run
that
again.
Thing again.
Yeah. just do that. Don't worry about tactics.
Nothing else, Ben. It makes them go. After he does it, they've got to go up because they were going for the win last night. Arsenal for a variety of reasons. All their subs were, you know, their subs going in the second half. It was, let's get another attacker on. Let's get closer to Liverpool. They take Coquelin off and all that sort of stuff. But what happens is Moreno goes in that run, and then suddenly they're thinking,
puts them on the back foot, doesn't it?
Well, these could turn us round.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's the thing that you want. All right, then let's go back to front. Let's start off with Mignolet.
Are we going to do this? Are we going to do this now, Pat?
Go on if you want to.
I was, you know, I try and sort of like read around and see what everyone's saying about Liverpool and all that, just because it's something to talk about on the show, something to write about, and all the rest of it. And it's interesting as well to get perspectives from, you know, from outside the Liverpool bubble, if you like. But this fella, don't know what he's on. Matthew Dunn from the Express, and he says, to describe last night's goalless draw as honours even would be to highlight the fact that it's the closest either of these sides will come to any honours this season as far as the Premier League is concerned. Overall, it was gutsy, industrious, and at times there were moments of flair, but certainly there was no marker being laid down by either side. You fucking what, mate? I mean, you know, hang on, we've been shite at the Emirates since the Emirates was built. We weren't exactly...
Since they built the thing.
We weren't exactly great at Highbury either in terms of a record there, because, you know, Arsenal are generally, for quite a long time, been good in that. And so here we are, going to their gaff, nearly scoring like a goal after 3 minutes, certainly playing our part in 90 minutes, and we're all coming away going, oh, fucking hell, that was all right, wasn't it? Look at the fight that we've shown there. We've nearly won. We've nearly ended that record, and even a 0-0's decent. What's he watching? No marker. That was a marker. That's exactly what that was.
It's unfair on Arsenal as well, who played quite well second half. You know, they're a good team, and it's this idea that, I don't know, I just think you haven't got to make big calls. You just relax. You don't have to make big calls there, mate. And I thought, you know, but I just thought it was a really good game. And that's the other thing, is that insofar as a 0-0 can be a 0-0, you know, I thought it's one of the best 0-0s I can remember seeing. Really, it was just a really good game of football. And if you've been neutral, you go, yeah, that's great.
Definitely. And what's to say that we're not going to finish 1 and 2 this season? Do you know what I mean? It might have been that both teams were just that good that we cancelled each other out, which I think a lot of that went on. But I think it's a bit of a bold statement to make that 3 games into the season.
She's 35 games to go here, Ian.
There are definitely 35.
Have you counted each of them?
I've counted each of them. I've had a look at the fixture list and everything. That is 2 teams, both of whom looked better than either United or Chelsea have looked so far this season.
Definitely.
Both of whom were playing really good football, both of whom threatened each other, and both of whom defended really well. Is that him?
That's Matthew Dunn, yeah.
All right, we're not going to start ripping his appearance.
No, I'm taking his word. He looks like a...
He says in his bio that any views are his own and probably cynical. Just enjoy the footy, lad.
Yeah. Certainly if you're getting paid for it. All right then, back to front. Part 1. Ian, you mentioned Mignolet's save before from Giroud. It's a terrific save, but he offered an assurance throughout the game. It was probably his best performance this season, and he's obviously you can rarely fault a goalkeeper with a clean sheet, but you can't fault Mignolet regardless yesterday.
No, it's the first time this season he's really been called on in anger, isn't it? And there was still a question last week, you know, he's not being tested yet. We've got 2 clean sheets, but he's not really been tested. Well, he got tested last night and he made 4, 5 world-class saves. He was excellent. He was commanding his box. He works well with his defence. He looks like he's still the goalie he was in the middle of last season at the moment. He's absolutely on form, and that save, that's an immaculate save. That's as good as either of Czech saves for me. That's absolutely fantastic. That's a point saver.
He was excellent, Ben.
Yeah, I think for me more than the saves that he made, because I think he's always been a good shot stopper since he came to the club, but I think, as you say, commanding the box, and most importantly, I think his distribution for me, like the last couple of seasons, it's been so shaky playing out from goal kicks at the back and that, and I think the way that he was switching it up this game, sometimes going long, sometimes.
Do you think it helps him having Benteke to hit?
Definitely, yeah. And I think he had a bit more of a head on him this time. He knew when he wanted to release it quickly. He knew when to calm it down and let everyone take a breather. And I think leading from the back, it set the tone for the rest of the team then for the attacks.
Great cynical time wasting second half.
Yeah, the miscontrol. I mean, what I like as well is across the 3 games, you know, you can't say he's been totally faultless across the 3 games. There's been mistakes that he's made. There's been times when he's come for a ball and not got there. But what I like about that is it doesn't seem to have bothered them. You know, like previously he's gone massively into his shell. He's became glued to the line, and he said himself about, you know, sort of the mental issues that he had, culminating in his missus having a word with him. Like, so you know, it seems to me that he's over that, and I think he is. I think he is potentially growing as a goalkeeper now, and the Benteke thing undoubtedly helps. I mean, his stats from that game are ridiculous. I think he won. No, he there's 24 aerial duels or something like that.
It's a horrible phrase. I
know it is. It is a horrible phrase, and I think he's won about
24 headers he went for.
Yeah. And he's won about I think it was 16.
There's gonna be more of that in the Tuesday review. What did you written it? Sean Rogers later on tour player.
Teaser.
We'll get talking teaser indeed. Ben Nathaniel Klein. It's the extent to which he looks like a Liverpool player is ludicrous. It looks like he's been playing right back for Liverpool for years. But you know, they did have a good go there, Arsenal. They played a lot of stuff down that flank, tried to put that pressure on Liverpool, and yet, you know, he did, at no point did he let the side down. The organisation and communication you could see between him and Milner was good. They were able to just keep shuttling along, closing off, making sure they were keeping Arsenal, as you said before, letting them have it in wider areas, but trusting the teammates around them to keep them in those spaces.
Yeah, I thought he had a fantastic game. I think considering the fact that he had Firmino ahead of him there, who was he did all right tracking back and that, but he wasn't really.
He's not as good as Coutinho.
He's not as good in terms of like closing down and pressurising, and so I think Klein was having to deal with a lot of that pressure coming down that wing, and I think he was brilliant. He was brilliant. Yeah.
Offers something going forward as well. It's noticeable a couple of times he's making. I didn't expect to see him quite as advanced as he was, Ian, but he first off, especially, but when Liverpool were on top, you get the impression he's got a license to pick his moments to supplement the attack, and he's so quick covering the ground to get up there. He can make a 60-yard run to put himself in position with that pace.
Yeah, and I think the key thing is he's got the intelligence to know when to do it, and he's got the intelligence to know when he can do it and get back as well. He doesn't neglect it. I mean, Glenn Johnson, God love him, could be great going forward, but then completely forget to get back.
But also didn't have the legs. The last couple of years, didn't have the legs to do the sprint.
But even at his best, he wouldn't be back in time. Klein gets back in time, so you don't lose the shape by having your right back exposed somewhere up the pitch. He gets back. I thought last night he was more solid than spectacular. I think there was the occasional burst. I think we'll see more from him against the small teams in terms of getting forward. I thought he was possibly a little less obvious than Gomez last night, where Gomez was obviously fantastic. Klein just kind of got on and did the job very, very well. I think he's a magnificent footballer. Our full backs at the moment are unbelievable.
Yeah, I think it's not just pace as well from him, it's stamina. He just looks like he's never knackered. He just looks like he can play for 3-4 hours and go, yeah, is it half time? Yeah.
That's the case with a lot of them though, isn't it? I mean, suddenly you're looking at that football team going, these are fit lads, these lads are fit.
Yeah, and that again feeds into the idea that wherever we go now, you can sort of imagine a way that we can possibly win the game. Whereas perhaps at other times during Rodgers' reign, you're looking at the way we played football and it felt, well, it was levelled many a time. There was no plan B, there was no other way to go about it. And undoubtedly having someone like Benteke in your side helps with the plan B, with an out ball. But also having all these lads who, as we've just said, are so fit, can keep going, can keep pressing. That's hard to score against, as Arsenal found out, and as I think a lot of sides have found out. And the criticism's been that this manager can't set up a defence, that we 3 clean sheets now, and that's while we're still waiting for Sturridge to come back. That's why we're waiting for Benteke to really click with his teammates. That's why Firmino is still slightly off the pace, given his summer exploits, given that it's a different league. There's so much to be positive about, and I really can't understand at the moment why people aren't getting behind it a little bit more. I was absolutely delighted with last night, and I think, as has been said there, it's one of them now where I'm itching to see them again. I can't wait to go to Anfield now and see how that translates to the next performance.
Gomez, Ben Gomez was. It's assurance is the terrifying thing. I think he just makes it look like, I thought first 10-15 minutes we were laughing before, me and Gareth, that he's got after he played Stoke, Rodgers came out and went, tell you what lads, that'll be your toughest performance against Jonathan Walters, and said he was probably going to go in at half time and say yeah, Bren, this is much harder, mate, than Jonathan Walters. There was 10 or 15 minutes there where they did have him a bit on the ropes, they were exposed and they were getting at him, but he just worked it out. He just grew and grew, and he just stayed so calm and so assured, and then, as by the time he gets to 65-70 minutes, he's Liverpool's best player. It's astonishing. Yeah,
he held his own. I think obviously he's really strong defensively, but I think a really, really great fact about him is that when he does win the ball back, even though he's young, he doesn't panic. He's very assured on the ball, and he can carry it forward. He can pick out a pass, and I think he made Lovren look so much better that game. I know Lovren got a lot of praise after it, but I think that was a lot down to Joe Gomez and that protection that he gave him on that side.
I think this is massive, actually, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's. I think Lovren's simply playing well, and I think that there's a general. When we had Roy Evans in, one of the things he said, and I don't know if it was actually recorded in a conversation or not, but it was after the Stoke game, and he happened to say that the thing that impressed him about the Stoke game was how well Liverpool played on the cover. and that on the cover's been a slightly lost art in football, because everyone's constantly looking for full-backs that bomb forwards and so on and so forth, and it's become a bit of the thing you'd expect your holding midfielder to do and not really anyone else. Whereas the thing last night was, Gomez is constantly looking to play on the cover. Mentioned before, Skrtel playing on the cover for Lovren. One of the reasons why Klein's happy to let them have the ball in these wide areas that Ben's talking about is that is that he knows that he's got cover. Everyone knows where they are, and it is this sort of mutual. There seems to be a genuine both understanding and trust in this Liverpool defensive setup, whether it's just the 4 defenders or involving the midfielders.
No, I think it's the whole thing. I think there's a great deal to be said about the speed that we got the business done with at the beginning of the summer. We've had these lads together all the way through pre-season. We've had the chance to work with them. I think one thing I spotted in the Bournemouth game, there are moments when we're very quietly going 3 at the back and the entire defence just shifts a little bit to the side. Klein pushes up and Gomez becomes a left-sided centre-back, which is what he is. I think he's the perfect defender for this system and he gives us so many options. But as Ben was saying, he's picking the ball up and he's making the right run. He's not just rampaging down left. He's not trying to do the Moreno where you try and do something mental into the area, wonderful as that is. He will take the ball so far and then he'll play an easy ball inside to somebody who's in a better position. I'm staggered how good this 18-year-old kid that we bought from Charlton, who played 12 times for them, is. It's ridiculous. He shouldn't be this good. It's impossible to be this good at that age. Stupid.
Yeah, he's your favourite player. He had to step up. He had 15 minutes where it was looking like it was a bit of a step up and a bit hard for him, and then he decided just to be the best player on the pitch. So, it's one of them.
I reckon Rob Jones is gutted now because it's sort of it's tainted his rise from the lower division story now. This is going to be the go-to one instead. But remember Gomez though. I like that he's being booked in every game as well. You know what I mean? That'll do for me. You know what I mean? And apparently, if he keeps going, I think it's James Pearce or something's got some record.
He's on 5 for his first 5.
Yeah, 5 out of 5, and then you're suspended. So.
Do you reckon we should all cheer the 5th like a goal?
Yeah.
If he gets 5 out of 5.
Well, you've got West Ham and then Man U. They're yellow cards, them, aren't they?
We're walking. He can get them for us.
Yeah, he'll box that off.
The only problem with that record is you can't break it, can you?
No.
You can only it's a bunker of records to beat.
I mean, with them as well, I just, it is one of them, everyone, there was whispers sort of that did come out of the club, no matter what Brendan says now, that, there was a likelihood that he would immediately go back on loan. And, and we've sat here in the past and said, what is the point in signing these lads, getting them in, saying, right, you're a Liverpool player, and then farming them off to another division, another city, and you haven't even got a chance. And he's obviously impressed with his attitude and how he's being in training, and then he finds himself in the team, and cracker. Long may it continue. It's brilliant. It's a great tale, and I think it's telling as well that you do hear that they look into the mentality of lads and stuff like that, which is good, because I think there'd be a temptation. I was thinking about this before. Say you're in basically, and you're playing for Charlton, and you're doing all right, and then Liverpool come in, and you think, mate, are you doing all right here? And he will have obviously had a massive bump in his wages, you would have thought, all the rest of it. And so it's easy to do the whole made it here, I'm alright, but he looks like a lad who's just coming in and he's going, and he absolutely backs himself. That's what I love as well. He's made mistakes here and there, and he will do. He's 18, but it doesn't seem to bother him. He's just like, well, next time I won't do that, next time I'll skin you, next time I'll jock you, whatever. He's a player that I can only see grow in a Liverpool shirt.
Alright then, Gareth, Skrtel, Lovren. Again, I mean, it's easy to get. I think first couple of games, I think people were talking a lot about Lovren because you're seeing him sort of begin to put his Liverpool career back together and so on and so forth. But I thought Skrtel outshone him last night. It's just simply the way in which the football match goes sometimes, as much as anything else. But I thought Skrtel's performance was the sort of performance you want from a lad there who's who's one of your 2 senior professionals on the pitch, or 3 including Milner, theoretically, this captain of his country, so on and so forth. It's the sort of performance I think that's been, if you were to be what some might say is harsh about his Liverpool career perhaps, but it's been the sort of performance that's been lacking occasionally. It had all your classic, it wasn't a Sammy Hippier performance, it was a Jamie Carragher performance. It was very much, it was a Stefan Hahn show.
Yeah, he dug in, he was determined, he looked like he was there saying, you're not going to pass, whatever I can do, you're not going to pass. And some of it was bordering on going over the line.
How that one didn't go in, I don't know.
Good. Yeah, and then there's the one where he nearly scores the Oggy, which obviously he's got a bit of a history of doing. What I loved on that is his face. I just had this big steely, determined face, and it's like his heart must have been pounding. but it was like he was thinking, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to do a face that says, it's all right, that. I knew what I was doing there, lads. What? I'm all right. And I thought he was, like you say, he wasn't like a cultured centre back performance. It wasn't like Baresi, but I mean, it was just stopping them. And I'm sound with that. I'm sound with centre halves that just stop things. I mean, on Lovren, I thought again. And I was getting ripped about this on Twitter because I was doing this on Friday, wasn't I? I thought he was all right. And I'm happy with him being all right, to be honest. I mean, let's not forget how bad he's looked at other times. So just coming in and being all right and getting 6, 7 out of 10 every week, I'm happy with that. I mean, he's got more cover with Gomez. He's got more cover in terms of the way the midfield's playing in front of him as well. I think all this helps. And there was still one, I think, where he did the Lovren of old, where he comes flying out and tries to win it early, and they've gone, and at that moment I thought, no, that stop doing that, mate. You know what I mean? Don't do that.
That's what we've eradicated from your game.
Yeah, but largely sound, but definitely overshadowed by Skirtley, who I thought was great. He loves playing Arsenal.
Yeah, he does good goal record against them. In fact, that's this is worth pointing this out. I think, Ben, is that the only area, let's try and find some negativity here. The only area where Lovren's unlucky, he gets one cleared off the line. We had more corners than Arsenal last night, and we were being very clever with the short corners, and that's that's so good lord. Got a car alarm going in the industrial heart of Liverpool city centre outside. We were trying short ones, we were trying to be clever from set pieces, and that's worth doffing your cap to. But you'd like to maybe see a little bit more from the two centre halves in their penalty area. If in games like that, that's often how they decided someone gets a big header from a corner. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, with the aerial ability that they've both got, you'd like to. I can't stand short corners, if I'm honest. I hate when the whole team's pushed up and is in the box and they play those short corners. It just gives the other team a chance to push out and close it down, and I'm not a big fan of them at all. I just reckon it should just be straight in and try and get your head on it.
It's neatly alehouse, Ben, for a younger man. Ian, what's your stance on the short corners? I thought we were creative. I thought we were having a little go at something. What that something was at times. Maybe we missed Henderson in this regard, because Milner and Henderson have been obviously working on that, and they've been executing that well. But maybe this is. You expect to see us make a bit more of that. I always do this thing, and I'm talking a lot for a second, but I'm going to keep doing it, where I sort of go, right, who are they going to mark? So they're going to mark Benteke, so he's their number 1. Number 2 is Skirtle, number 3 is Lovren. So when you begin to get to number 4 and you're matching up, if you are matching up, regardless, who's your number 4 there. And if your number 4 is someone like Emre Can, then you should be thinking to yourself, well, yeah, we should have maybe a bit of dominance here somewhere. Yeah. It's something to work on.
I'm enjoying the invention on dead balls at the moment. I think Brendan sat down in the summer, and he sat down possibly the entire summer and just drawn out pictures of how to do free kicks and corners, and he's got a different one for every single game. I think we're going to see invention all through the season. But about 3 or 4 short corners, and I was sitting there going, oh, for Christ's sake, just lash it in the box, will you, lads? Just one into the box will do me. We've got big lads, just go for it. And they did try a couple of lashes into the box, and they were no more successful. But I think we've got it's the unpredictability again, isn't it? It's something about playing unpredictably, and we're doing that. So if you see us take a short corner and a short corner, you're going to assume that the next one's a short corner, and then we'll lash it in the box. I think we're mixing it up, and we are being very, very inventive. And he's already done a couple of things on free kicks and corners that I've never seen us do in my life before. More of it.
Okay. Lucas, Ben. Good performance. It was first sort of 10 minutes you were a bit worried it was going to pass him by. He's not had the games, been a couple of games in, but again, in a different way to Gomez. He was 18. Lucas is such an experienced professional. He got a foothold in the game, and probably up from about 20 minutes to half time, he's probably the best player on the pitch. And then Arsenal come second half, and he's it's a little tough, and you can see him begin to tire, but it's a strong performance. Definitely.
I think he showed how important he is to us as a player. All this talk about him going to Besiktas, and I've just been thinking that's an awful idea, especially with Joe Allen being out at the moment. Just because I think he's the best player I think we have in that position, and I'm not sure who was bossing that midfield organisationally wise. Maybe it was Milner, but I think
with
with
got two of them in there, they can
with his experience, I think, you know, it probably showed. Like, they were so organised in there, and I think he had a fantastic game, and I think he's one to keep hold of. I definitely don't think we should let him go.
Come on to that in a second, Ian. First and foremost, the thing I noticed, mentioned it on the Pink last night, you know, Ben's mentioned organisation there, the talking.
Yeah.
You could see them, they were all talking, Klein, Milner, Lucas, the three who I thought really stood out, Lovren to a certain extent, but it was Lucas and Milner, you could see them barking at each other all, and barking at everyone else all the way through the game. You do this, keep switched on, don't knock off. You know, it was, I mean, I'm presuming they're saying this, I could be talking complete broken biscuits, but I doubt they were talking about the weather.
They're not passing 50 pence around to see who goes to the bar at the end of the game.
They're not doing that, are they? But it was, you know, looking at Lucas and Milner in there, there's you know, Ben's right to point out these are all pros. These are, you know, these are lads 28, 29. They know the way around a football match.
There's a level of experience and intelligence in the team at the moment, and intelligence even amongst the younger players. There's a mentality to this team which is so turned around from last season. And just thinking while you were saying that, then I think it might be that there is no obvious leader figure in the team anymore. There's nobody that's like, you look at Steven Gerrard and go, he's the leader of this team. There isn't that anymore. Jordan Henderson might be the captain, but Milner's as important as him. Lucas, if he's on the field, is as important as him. It's a communal sort of thing. There's a lot of people who agree on the same thing, and they're just talking to each other all the time. There's a lot of communication, and we look like a unit. We look more like a unit than we have done in a very, very long time.
I've been dwelling on the Lucas staying and going thing, Gareth, in that I think the lad needs to get games, and I still think even with the current midfield options, you know. In fact, I'll ask the question, just flat as anything. Who starts him against West Ham? Do you start him against West Ham, Ben?
No.
Do you start him against West Ham?
I think so at the moment, given the injuries to Lallana and Allen. I think I'd be inclined to go Lucas. Probably Lucas, Milner, Chan, because they're talking about a few games before Henderson's back fit, aren't they?
Okay. Well, do you start him at West Ham?
No.
So this is the question, and two of you said no, one of you said yes. So this is where I feel a bit like he doesn't play against West Ham. He's had this game against Arsenal where he's looked rusty. He's had to come off on 70 because he's clearly, you know, his legs are beginning to go, and that's completely understandable with the intensity. Then the next game he's going to get, because he's not getting an international break, is going to be United away, and we probably, you know, we might start him at United away, say, but then we don't start him presumably if lads are back fit and Sturridge is back. We don't start him against Norwich. We then don't start him against Villa, but we might then start him in the derby. He might get a Europa League game in there, to be fair, one or two of them. But my point on this, Gareth, is if you're Lucas, you're 28 years old, you must be thinking, I want to start every week.
Yeah.
And this is where I think it is difficult, isn't it? It's not. If I had my way, you keep the player because he's a good player and because he'll offer you something at some point in the season. But you do wonder whether or not the manager, the player, between them, they're sort of going, well, you didn't start me at Stoke, mate. You didn't start me at Stoke. I didn't get a look in Bournemouth, and I've come in there and, you know, it is hard, isn't it, to work out what's best. But maybe Liverpool have just got to be a bit hard-faced about this and say, Lucas, you stay until Christmas.
Yeah.
You've got tough games coming up.
I think it is a difficult situation to manage because, I mean, you know, what do you say to him? You know, like, I mean, last night, you know, Brendan Rodgers is saying he's the best defensive midfielder at the club, and I don't think anyone is going to argue with that. What the argument is, when are you looking to start a defensive midfielder? When is that absolutely key to what you're doing? You know, as in an out defensive midfielder, someone who's doing what he was doing last night, sitting in front of the defenders, sweeping up, keeping it simple. But you know what? It's about what else you can do. You know, the creativity, and it's like, you know, you substitute one for another almost, don't you? You know, if he's in the side, then you're losing a creative player that you can put in there, and this is the problem. And so I don't know, it's a difficult one. It feels like this is the second time that Lucas has been here with Rodgers. And I think
that's the other thing as well. It is the second time he's been here, and that's why if you're Lucas, you might be thinking, do I want to be your break glass emergency option? I'd rather play football.
Exactly, and I think that's the thing now. I think he, the reason he's linked with Besiktas and all the rest of it is I think he's putting the feelers out to see, or his agent is putting the feelers out to see what gets offered, to see what's on the table. And I think probably Liverpool are saying, you know, we want you to stay, but we can't guarantee you a start. And so I think it's very much in the balance about whether he stays or goes, depending on what he's offered, what kind of money gets offered in terms of wages, in terms of a fee. If it's just a loan thing, I think Liverpool have already ruled that out. And I think Rodgers says he'd like him to still be here next week, and so would I. But it's just, you know, selling that to the player. You're not going to be in the side every week.
I think he will get starts in the big games. Like I think that showed, like for teams where you would expect us to win, I think you can play an attacking side, but when you're playing teams like Arsenal, Chelsea, United, City, you need that player that's gonna, and I think he is important for those sorts of games. So maybe you would say to Lucas, that's how highly we think of you. For those big games, we need you in there. Do you know what I mean? So
that's almost what you can maybe sell to him in the meantime. That's the way I thought it'd go this season. But I thought he'd start at Stoke, to be honest with you, Ben. And then he was. I wondered if there was the managers looked at it and thought not quite sure. I mean that is a way to sell it to him. And there's a gang of lads who'll need looking after in the Europa League as well. And Lucas can do that in the meantime to get his legs going on a weekly basis. There's football he can play here at Liverpool and maybe that's exactly what we should be looking to do and looking to sell to him. But you do wonder whether or not he's going a bit like, well, it's another go round on this. Is it? It's another, it's another period of time where I only get 8 games in a possible 19, and I'm wondering what the point is come December.
Well, that's the big question. If you're Lucas, if you're told that, look, you're a big game player and just a big game player, is that enough when there's less time left in your career than you've had in your career? You want to play, you've had a long injury, you won't be out, you're fit, you won't be out playing football.
Turn the fucking alarm off.
I'm thinking of going down and doing that car in a second. It's really doing me head in. He wants to be playing football, and that's what you want to do with your life. If you're a footballer, you want to play football, and I wouldn't blame him if he looked to go into a Besiktas. That I would completely understand, but I would much prefer that we had him, because otherwise you look at the West Ham game, you look at our injuries at the moment and go, well, what are our options? Are we dropping Coutinho back and putting Ings up front? Or are we starting Jordan Rossiter? And you think having Lucas there for that kind of moment makes sense.
There's probably like a respect strand to this as well, in that, it's easy for us to sit here and just go, I just want the club to just be dead hard faced and just go, you're not going, lad, because we might need you. But he's been a good servant to the club. He's well liked now. I think he's won most people over the time he's been here, and I think that plays a part, because it's like, you've done all right for us, mate. You've bailed us out a lot of times. If you want to go, then
he's got friends in the dressing room as well. I mean, it's one of them where, do you want him? I said this on another show. There's a conversation to be had about whether or not you want him in the dressing room and you want him knocking around with Coutinho and with the lads, and they're all happy as Larry because they're getting to play every week and the ethic's absolutely fantastic and they're all as one. But Lucas is going, this manager's doing my head in. I play one game, I play well, I get bombed out for the next 3, so on and so forth.
If he was if he was 2-3 years older, it'd be a different situation. I think then you'd be in more of a Colo Torre type situation where he's happy with that. You know what I mean? He's probably thinking, this is where I am in my career. Whereas Lucas is probably looking at it going, I should be playing, I'm still good enough to play. I'd get in this side, I'd get in that side.
He's not had a run of games, mostly because of injury, I'd say, but he's not had a run of games since Rodgers has been here, because he the first game back after he had the long injury under Dalglish, the first game back that he has, he gets injured again, or the second game back after Gommel or something, and then it's all stop-start, and he must be thinking, I'm 28 years old, I'd like to do another 2 full seasons of football where there's 35 league games and I play 33 of them, and not easy. Milner, though, on the other hand, is going to play 38 games. He probably wishes there was more. Pints for the era when the first division was made up of 42. Might deliberately go to a championship club next season so he can play in 46. It's Ian. He's terrific, and I thought his intelligence, the hard running, everything about his game is just it should be. I mean, it reminds me a little bit in a strange way of Suarez, in that at times you're thinking, well, isn't this what all the footballers should do? Isn't this what everyone who's playing should do? But it's not what everyone who's playing does. Not everyone who can do this to start with, but also not everyone's got this level of application. I think it's astonishing.
No, he's the player we thought he was going to be, and a hell of a lot more. I think he's one of those players that you only ever really appreciate if he's playing for you, when you see what he does. And I don't even think he appreciates everything he does. I think he's a Ronnie Whelan, where you don't see half the work he does, but he is everywhere. He just suddenly appears in places. He's a ridiculously intelligent footballer. He is keeping other lads going. And I think he may well be the Colo Torre of this season, where he's coming in from a team that's won the league. He's looking at the lads around him going, you can do this. You're as good as these lads I've been playing with for years. You're as good as them. There's nobody here that wouldn't walk into that team, and you can do this. I think a lot of the mentality that we've got at the moment is coming from him. He's a professional. He's a true professional.
But unlike Toure, at least I hope, unlike Toure, he's playing really well, and he's going to keep playing.
Yes.
Yeah. Ben, you know, that's it. You're looking at him, and it's, again, the talking, the cleverness, the little balls, the fact that he's the way in which he was constantly picking up corners that they were knocking back out. You know, it just seems to be in the right place and seems to consistently do the right thing.
He's been fantastic. I think when we signed him, I think most people realised that was what you were going to get from him. I would like to see him pushing down the wing a little bit more. I know that when he came here, it was because he said he wanted to play down the middle, but when you used to watch him at City, he used to get so many assists from getting down to the byline and crossing in. And I think with someone like Benteke in the box, if you've got someone like that who's getting down the line, that would be fantastic. So I'd love to see him do that a bit more. But
I think we might see more of that against where he starts central and drifts out there. I think we might see more of that against West Ham, against the poorer side. With a bit of luck, Gareth. I think he's got more to come, and that's the thing. Like, you're watching him at the minute, thinking he's doing all this, and he's going to keep doing all this, but there could well be more to come.
Yeah, again, we're 3 games in, and he's a new signing, but it feels like he's been here forever already, and I think that's really telling, because, you know, in any walk of life, when you change a job, when you go and live somewhere else, whatever, it messes with your head a little bit. You know, it's difficult to deal with, and yet it seems to me that, you know, Milner's walked in. Straight away he's got the respect of the dressing room, and straight away he's already talking to people. Looks like he's taking people under his wing. I wouldn't be surprised if the sort of the huddle and the coming out together type of thing at second half, that feels like that was probably orchestrated by him. And you know, I think it's invaluable what Ian's saying as well, that you've got someone there who's won the league, who's, you know, and he's sitting there going, he's probably there going to Coutinho, you know, you're as good as all of these Arsenal lads. You know, that you can win, and Coutinho's shown that. Well, we're coming on to him, aren't we?
We are indeed, but before we do come on to him, we're going to break for one of these little new funky advert things that we're doing for Tour Player, so expect more voices in a second. This is the part where we talk about Tour Player. Quick thank you to those of you who signed up to it. We've been delighted with the response so far. We're still working on shows and formats, and the Reds have been decent too, so that always helps. But anyway, I've got to do the highlights of the week, and my highlights of the week this week include the moment when AFQ Thursday got oh so serious in its discussion of what makes up good and bad commentary.
The worst, Martin Tyler, because this is what, you know, for the most part, we've been listening to this for 20 years. When Martin Tyler's commentating, you can literally switch off, not listen to a word he's saying, and just concentrate on the match. And they used to have this option, didn't they, where you could mute the commentary. Yeah. You don't need it with Martin Tyler. You don't need to mute Martin Tyler not to listen to the commentary, because you phase out of him.
It astonishes me how much now when you listen to commentary, it's not fellas telling you who's got the ball. They're having a chat. Yeah. And I'm like, you're having a chat? Stop having a chat. So just tell me who's got the ball. Tell me who's got the ball, and I'll do the rest myself. What you're talking about you know, they're on one about Everton's form to date this season and who's looked good and who's looked bad. But there's lots of football happening here, lads. Do that bit. Yeah. Andy Heaton next, then Mike Gale, and then Joe Connolly.
Can I offer a semi-serious left field answer?
This is what I want.
These were very serious.
Okay. No, they're really good. I'm very impressed. One of them who a lot of people, I've got 2 for first choice for best. 2 people who might be a panic. Number 1 is John Gwynn, who does Sky Sports every now and again. I've worked with John a little bit, and he's a consummate professional. And
darts and cricket.
Yeah, but he's brilliant at footy. He does he does Championship, League 1, League 2 for Sky Sports. Back in the day, he used to do League 1 football when it was the Premiership for a couple of radio stations, and he's absolutely fantastic just listening to him. No ego about it, delivers what you need to know dead quickly, and you get a picture in your head. If you close your eyes and listen to what he's saying, you get a picture in your head of what's happened.
I agree.
Very effective communicator.
He's not well known at all either, is he?
No, he's not, and I think he's brilliant. I'm a really big fan of his. The other one is just for the sheer joy that he gets from commentating on football is David Pleat. And I know he's not everyone's favourite cup of tea.
No, he's good, David Pleat. Yeah, he's underrated.
I know he's not everyone's favourite cup of tea.
He's totally underrated, David Pleat.
But I enjoy listening to him because he's actually watching the game and he's trying to tell you what he's seeing.
He's not
as opposed to trying to be a smart. He's not trying to be a smart ass. He's trying to get you involved in the game.
Graham Taylor's the same.
Yeah,
Graham Taylor's really good on the radio.
Graham Taylor's the same.
I'm banging to fellas who've got a bit of joy in the game. Who are not trying to be.
They love football. He loves football, and you can tell they love football.
Exactly the point. Yeah, they're not trying to be some smart ass. They're just trying to involve you in the game and telling you what their insight is. and all that stuff. So
it's normally a really good insight. That's the key as well,
yeah,
isn't it?
exactly.
Well,
It's stuff that you wouldn't realise yourself.
They're football men. They're
Little
genuinely
bits.
been in the game all their life. David Pleat did come out of a classic though in the '86 World Cup about Maradona. He said he gets great elevation from his balls from seemingly impossible positions.
Joe Connolly, who are you going for?
You never asked me the worst one.
I'll go on the worst one, sorry.
Michael Owen.
Yeah, he's terrible.
Yeah. Oh, God in heaven. My second highlight has to be Sean Rodgers and Paul Johnson having a conversation about what Liverpool should do with Lucas Leiva going forward. The Lucas situation, Paul, is... It's interesting, certainly in a universe where you're at Arsenal and the manager would rather have James Milner sitting in front of the back four than Emre Can, in that it suggests that there's a hierarchy there which may well have Lucas, if not at number one, certainly because you're not going to play him every week, but certainly high up in terms of if we're going to have someone do that job, he's there, he's ahead of Emre Can for that. That Milner may well be, that Joe Allen probably is, that Henderson is, because we've seen it in selection. It makes you think, in terms of Liverpool's midfield options, beyond the four I've just mentioned, you've got Can, you've got Coutinho, you've got Lallana, they're the midfielders, and that's the seven. There's the idea that Lucas plays himself back in last night. I don't think that's necessarily the case, in that I suspect it's all quite a complex situation, but you wouldn't want to see him leave, would you? There.
No. To be honest with you, when the links and the story started coming out, and you don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I was just confused by it anyway. I think he is, for all I know he's never been for some reason, probably until they got his hair cut. Sometimes there's still players and people who don't like him, and I think that unfortunately that's the way it's always going to be. But for me, he is your one player who is kind of that defensive, knows what he's doing, and he played great last night. I really did think he played well. And okay, his legs started to go because again, it's his first full game, etc. I think it'd be crazy to sell him. I really do, Sean.
It's the sharpness that worries me, Sean. It's the fact that you're not going to play him every week. It's getting him sharp enough. You feel as though almost every game you'd be when he did. If he doesn't get another kick now until Man United away, then he's almost had 3 weeks of football. But
I think on another show we mentioned this is where obviously at this point, Neil, okay, you're only playing league matches, and again, Sean, you'll have an experience of this. When you're in other, all of a sudden these games are going to start coming thick and fast. You're going to have the Europa League, blah, blah, and this is where I think you can be playing the likes of the players who mightn't be in your first 11, playing these, giving them a game, getting them sharp, and then because it only takes a couple of injuries, and all of a sudden Lucas is starting every week in my book.
No, there's a couple of things, isn't there? I think the two things I'm worried about are I think we're quite a strong, becoming a good organised team that are going to be really good on the counter-attack, and I can see us being really good away from home. I think it's vital that Firmino and Sturridge click with Benteke so that we can beat the bottom 13 at home comfortably. I'm nervous about that in terms of our league campaign. The second thing I'm incredibly nervous about is the Europa League and the League Cup. If we start putting out strong sides in them competitions, it's a fact that we will be damaged in our league campaign. So for me, it's vital that Rodgers resists and is forced to resist the temptation to put a strong side out, and that will be helped if players like Lucas play in the Europa League and the League Cup. We start to rack up points, we start to get through the rounds, and then he's seeing with his own eyes, well, we can piss this Europa League group. I don't need to throw Benteke or Henderson or Milner or put the cavalry in. Also with the young players, who better, like your Toure, your Lucas, to try and let's get Markovic settled. Let's see what Markovic can do.
Danny Ings up front, you know what I mean?
Going. Yeah, exactly. Rossiter. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That who's to say that Gomez doesn't have a dip and need to maybe to expect Gomez, he's capable of it, but to expect him to go through an entire season at this level at that age, I think. Look, I'm not saying he can't do it. I think it's unfair on the player. I think that's an unfair expectation for him, and I think having him around, you don't know how he's feeling right now, I suppose, mentally with everything, but for the Europa League and the League Cup campaign, I think those players are absolutely crucial. It's vital we pick up wins, because otherwise I just worry that there's that temptation for him to start putting stronger sides out, and I think that will then damage our league campaign.
But my highlight of the week has to go to what we call history. We've done the whole of 08-09 in 4 parts, and everyone who's contributed has been brilliant. Thanks to them, and thanks to all of our contributors across all of the shows. This is Mike Nevin's second inclusion here, but what can I say?
We're still in with a shout, you know what I mean? We needed to win this game, definitely, but still in with a bit of a shout.
I think if you were in the Pro Rafa camp, you're exhausted by this period. I mean, and I went out and celebrated this royally and made an absolute disgrace of myself this night. I have to say, I'm not going to go into the details, but it was in terms of finest hours. Well, it was the complete opposite of that evening. But I think it was like a sort of a release of stress, hugely. That had been going on for the best part of 6 to 9 months.
I felt like and we had a pretty poor run there as well.
And I think, and if I drink and I'm in a bad mood, then I can be unpleasant at best, and I probably was unpleasant at best to the taxi driver who took me home kindly when I had no money in town at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Our paths may have crossed, Michael.
but it was, and Neil sort of alluded to this as well. You'd go out and celebrate victories angrily, and that shouldn't be the case. You should be happy that you've won, and you should be, elated that you've put United to the sword 4-1 at Old Trafford. But my mindset after that was I just want to go and get really bladdered because I'm dead angry, and I just want to put one on people that that really you should be getting on with.
That's tour player. Not all of it had Mike Nevin, and not all of it has me, thankfully. But 11 shows last week, another 11. No wonder my voice is going. Gutman got himself back in that gutter. There was a great show with Heather Carroll about Liverpool ladies. You name it, we had it last week. It's £5 a month. If you haven't already, please give it a go. Please join us. TheAnfieldWrap.com. Great there. So all that stuff to listen to. You've had Tuesday review out today as well, and the coach homes come out today. Tons of Dave Downey talking about Tim Howard, which I wish I'd remembered because I probably would have added that amongst my highlights. But you can't make those advert things 15 minutes long, which is what Tim Howard gets from Dave Downey on the coach home. So if you get the opportunity, give that a listen. Really pleased that Ben's popped in. I'm going to very quickly mention a couple of things really. He's part of Mike Lowry. You're playing Lymph 250 on Sunday at the Summer Jam Central Stage, yeah?
Yeah, it should be great. Should be good fun. We got it through obviously Lymph got us onto it. It's brilliant because we've been gigging a lot this year, but it's mainly been outside of the city, so we're looking forward to coming home and playing a gig here, and it should be fantastic.
Supermodel's Boss, new song,
nice one. Nice one.
I had to listen to that today. And you've been touring with Boys to Men?
Yeah, just before Christmas. That was unbelievable.
That's unreal that you've been working with Boys to Men.
Yeah, it's crazy, really. I mean, like,
it's good to see you not hanging around with crews that are older than us.
yeah. It was,
I've still got a few years on it.
Yeah, it was a funny one, really, because, like, I mean, as a band, probably, like, if people are trying to compare us, they will probably be the closest to us, and like we're influenced a lot by them. So when we found out we were doing the tour, it was unbelievable.
And working with Wiley.
Yeah, that was that's been another amazing one. It just we've been getting to work with loads of different people this year, and it's fantastic. Lots of people who are really experienced, and obviously we've only been still really young and stuff, so getting to work with all these experienced people is really good.
So it's Lymph, it's the Sunday Jam Central Stage, 250 on Sunday. See you down there for that should be good. Also want to give a shout out to the book Where Everything Us, Everywhere Us, well, not everything, Where Everywhere Us. Give a shout out to that. It's out at the moment, edited by Carlton Sachin, and it's also got contributions from a ton of people in it who you'll hear on these shows, so it's that does very well for them, and we'll be doing a bit more on that in the next few weeks. Also want to shout out to us doing 3 shows in New York City. If you go to the Anfield Wraps Twitter, it's on there. Also NYC Copites, that's on there as well. 3 shows across Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Just shout.
And you can buy the tickets by clicking on your thing right now.
You can buy the tickets, but if you've got one of those phones that plays, that gives you the thing, if you click on it right now, you can buy tickets through that to see us Friday, Saturday, Sunday, including commentary on the Manchester United game, which, if it's anything like the sort of commentary that was going on as we were watching the Arsenal game last night, will mostly consist of me going which hopefully I'll up my game by then and add some more words to the lexicon.
Might be a marker for that though.
All right, mate. All right, back to the front. Coutinho, unlucky not to score, Ian. Bright as anything. Maybe the one when he hits the bar, I'm going to say he could do a little bit better, and everyone's going to get annoyed at me. The one which Cech tips onto the post, he can't do any better. It's going into the side net, and the keeper's got no right to get a hand on it. But also in general, it's you can see his link-up play with Benteke. There's a brightness.
Yes, there's a partnership forming there already. You can see that one coming. He knows what Benteke is going to be. He's got the right balls to get through to him. That fair shot, I'll have that. He should have buried that. He shouldn't have put that onto the bar. I don't care how quick it came at him. He should have won. He should have, No, it's possibly a little unfair on him, to be honest. But But it was a great chance, and it was a fantastic start to the match. You get that kind of chance within 3 minutes, and you're setting your stall out for everything else. The one that checks tips onto the post, I had to watch it 3 times before I realised he'd actually got a touch on it. It's an unbelievable save. Nobody else gets to that, and that's the level Coutinho's playing now.
It's the skill to make the space.
Yeah, it's the step to the left and then the shift back to the right, and he takes the lad out completely just by moving.
Does the time warp in?
He may well.
Teenagers there.
We'll go sit down and explain this one to Ben before you were born, mate. Just to make everybody feel old. Yeah, he does a... Yeah, okay, yeah. It is... It's,
I mean, you described it accurately, I'm just saying.
I did, yeah. The next sound you hear is me leaving. I can't follow that one. No, it is. It's the movement. The movement is fantastic. To make that space to get a shot in is unbelievable technique for a lad who's barely had any pre-season.
You know what? As well, I've just got to say this. There's a mate of mine who's a massive blue nose, and you know, he's one of the bitter ones as well. Especially when he's had a pint down him, and he'll never give us any credit over anything. And I've known him since school. And I don't think I can ever remember him basically saying anything nice about Liverpool. He hates everything to do with us, basically. And anyway, I'm watching this on the telly last night, and then at half time, whatever, flick on my phone, having a look on Facebook, and he's poor. And it was written by him. It wasn't like, you know, someone hasn't grabbed his phone and done it, because he had a conversation about it afterwards. He's poor. Coutinho's brilliant, and yet I'm not messing. I nearly fainted. Can someone go round to Colin McKillen's and check he's all right? So this is what he's doing to people, though.
It is what he's doing to people. I think that's one of the reasons why he goes to Arsenal's ground and does that. And he's there's Arsenal have got lots of lads who play off the front and are small and are dead fast and are really good. And he looked the best of that type of player on the pitch, Ben. I think that would be the thing that would catch your eye. That that's the level that he's at the moment.
Definitely, I think this season he looks on a whole different level. Every time he picks the ball up, you're expecting him to do something unbelievable. But the thing I've been really impressed with this season is his ability to keep that level going throughout the 90 minutes. I think the last 2 seasons, Rodgers takes him off nearly at 70 minutes every time he plays, and he's kept him going through. And you saw in the first game a few minutes to go, and he comes up with something.
You've seen him growing into that this sort of last few months of last season as well. You know, he's growing and growing into this idea that he's the most important player for Liverpool. You feel as though he's comfortable with the fact that that's the situation, that he's got that responsibility on him. Yeah,
I think so. I think after him in the Copa America, when Neymar was out, and they were saying that was his responsibility in Brazil, and they said he didn't really live up to it, but I think that would have been an amazing experience for him to have and to learn from, and I think it's showing this season.
Absolutely.
I think it's telling as well, isn't it, how many shots he's getting off. I mean, Gibbo's done a piece for the site today, highlighting that among other things, and just saying, where is it that we should be playing him really to try and get the best out of him, and is there almost 2 systems and different ways of using them depending on the opposition. As ever, great from Gibbo. And I think he also highlights something that Bass Tune to Red on Twitter's been highlighting about his shooting. I don't think anyone's had more shots in the league, I don't think. Something like that, something mad like that. So there's obviously a policy that's being discussed over the summer with Coutinho. You've got to get on the score sheet more often now. And I think he's got something like 17 in 100 and odd games for us, which is not a great return, given his ability. And if he can start getting on he was very unlucky last night not to be on the score sheet. And I think if he's doing that game by game, which obviously we hope he is, I think you can get what 10-15 from him. And that's huge. So I thought as well with him last night as well, there's actually a couple of moments that he could have done better with. We're having a laugh about the one that goes off the bar, but he got put through a couple of times, didn't he? And sort of didn't seem like he backed himself to go first time, and got caught with tackles by defenders both times. But that link up straight away with Benteke is really telling, I think, because how many times, it's not just with Benteke, go back a few seasons, how quickly were we all saying, look how quick he's linked with Sturridge. And then and when Sterling was up front, everyone was going, look how quick he's linked with Sterling. He's a very clever player.
It's on the ones where he gets through, you're just thinking, just get your body in front. If you get your body in front, you're minimum going to get a pen. If you can just, if that's Benteke knows straight away, I'll just put my body in front of you, and he's either going to steam into the back of me like an idiot, or he's going to realise it's not there, and that's the frustration on that one. Ian, Emre Can, again, playing higher up the pitch, not in the holding role. And it's interesting that when Lucas comes off and Rossiter comes on, Rossiter plays higher than Milner, Can stays higher than Milner. It's Milner who sits in, it's not Emre Can who's asked to do that. It's as though the manager's gone, go and be this combination, this odd set of skills that he's got as a footballer, part wrecking ball, part silky touch, part dribbler, part, it's all this weird coloration of things that he's good at on a football field. Go and do that, but do it to them, and don't be getting in the way of other people. Just go and do it up there. And I thought he played. I was really pleased with his performance.
Yeah, I thought, to be honest, I thought the first 10-15 minutes he looked like the player that they were most likely going to be able to get at. He looked to me a little shaky to start off with. I don't know if anybody else agrees with that one, but I just thought he looked a little uncertain. And as we settled into the game, it became a case of, right, well, there was a belief. And all of a sudden it was a case of, well, I actually can run through these lads. I can carry the ball. I can make things happen. And more so, the second half, I thought he was absolutely outstanding in the second half. I thought he was a great channel to carry the ball forward, to get us back up the pitch again. I thought it's probably the best performance he's put in the red shirt so far, I think. Well, in a black shirt even.
Gareth, he was impressive. The conversations about what his best position is are going to go on and on. I think it's probably something we'll touch on in the Tuesday review later. But again, I think that this is, or the Tuesday review that you will already be out. I think he's going to be, he's going to be a very good footballer. You're just not quite sure what type of very good footballer he's going to be.
Yeah, and I think that's my thing with him. I don't really know what I'm expecting to see from him, but I know he's good, and I know he's got a shot on him as well, and I know he can steam past people once he builds up that head of steam. And I know he can put a tackle in as well. He put a good tackle in at Stoke. So yeah, it's a bit of an odd one. It feels like he's sort of feeling his way into what will be his role. I think the same probably applies to the manager, that he looks at him and thinks he's got a great skill set, but I'm not too sure where I'm using or how. But I'm glad he's a Liverpool player, and I think he's another one that let's remember again with him. He's another young lad. He's got plenty of years ahead of him in the game. And so figuring out exactly how to use him, how to get the best of him, should be pretty good to watch. But yeah, I was going to say, even before you said that, I'd be interested to see what the likes of Sean would make of his performance, because it did baffle me a little bit. I didn't really think he did anything wrong, but I just wasn't quite sure what he was meant to be doing.
Yeah.
He was moving around in there. The other one who, new player who's come in, Ben Firmino. We said before, he clearly tired. You pointed out that he, on that right hand side, he wasn't maybe giving Klein as much cover as say Coutinho was on the left hand side. He was creative, he was bright, but it also looked like the intensity and the pace of it came as a little bit of a surprise to him. It didn't look like the easiest 60 minutes he's ever had.
Definitely, I think. Obviously, coming to the Premier League, it's a totally different ball game, and I think there's a few times his touch looked good, and he put a few good passes in, made a couple of good runs, but I think there's a few times when he got caught on the ball where he just thought he had more time than he actually did, and then also on the defensive side of things, I think he got back in position well, but I think his closing down just wasn't as sharp, and he maybe just didn't put in enough fight, I think. But that'll come. The more he plays in this league, the more he'll realise he needs to get stuck in a bit more.
I think it was a speed thing. I think for me, he looked a yard short of pace. He looked like a man who hasn't had a great deal of time with the players around him yet, and it did look like he was taken by surprise by the speed of the Premiership, because when he was closing down, he didn't necessarily get to an Arsenal player as quickly as you'd want. So it was kind of, there was a hesitancy there as if he wasn't entirely sure he could make it. So I think the fact that we've used him in half-hour slots so far and then given him the 60 minutes here, I think we're building him for the Premiership. I think it's a sensible way we're managing him, and I'm not sure if Lallana had been fit, if he'd have actually got the start. He may have been on the bench for it, because he does look like a player who needs that time to learn. He's not going to explode immediately, but he looks like a player who, when he does finally get it, is really going to get it, and he'll figure people out. Somebody said, somebody tweeted about halfway through the first half, Firmino's had a look and decided these are shite, so he's going to have a go now. And it was that point where he just suddenly started coming to life, and it was kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of getting this. But then he did tire again. But he puts that cross in for Benteke. That cross is gorgeous.
It is gorgeous, that cross, and it's. I think the other thing to point out, Gareth, as well, is that obviously the games might be faster paced here, possibly, but that was about as intense a game as he's likely to play, and it doesn't get much more intense than that one. So it's the sort of, again, he's coming off the pitch there going, is it like this every week? And hopefully Brendan's going, it's not always like that, mate. Sometimes you get a bit more time. You won't be constantly asked to push, to press, to close. But I thought there was a lot of promise in there, and I'm glad Ian mentioned the cross, because the cross is the sort of ball in that you can't defend.
Yeah, no, I thought he did all right, to be honest. I didn't think he stood out as being a weak point or anything like that. I thought he was bright. I thought you could see a lot of the things that he was trying to do that didn't always come off, but you thought, he's obviously got he's obviously got the ability to thread the ball. He's obviously got decent vision. I think you could see that in some of the things he was attempting to do. And also as well, there was a few times where he was putting in fairly meaty challenges, and he was using his body and stuff. I mean, we'd heard that he had that side to his game, and I think you saw a little bit to that. So I thought there was loads of promise there, and it almost, you say he's tiring, but I felt like the time that he actually went off, he was doing all right at that point, I felt, and I was quite enjoying watching him. And I mean, it was obviously a pre-planned substitution. I think probably informed by the sports scientists and all the rest of it, because it was it was 60 minutes or whatever, and almost dead on. And I think that's clearly something they decided before the game had even kicked off, that he was getting 60, he was coming off, and then Ibe was getting on.
All right, move on to Ibe in a second. Do Benteke first, Gareth. There's obviously a miss in there, but I was very impressed with him carrying the ball. Very impressed with the physical issues that he managed to give the Arsenal back four.
Yeah, I liked him again. Everyone's obviously focusing on the chance and saying he should have put it away. He probably should have done. It is a great save from Czech. I think there was a good shout on the pink last night. I think it was Steve Graves who said, maybe it's in his head, the one where he's at the bar at Bournemouth. So
you ripped it off from Tompkins.
You ripped it off from Paul Tompkins, did he? Sorry, Paul. But I think that's a good point. But either way, it should be a goal, but it's a good save as well. But I was pleased with his performance, and the bit I liked most was where he just decided to carry the ball, and there was just people bouncing off him left, right, and centre. You just couldn't get it off, and they couldn't get a challenge in, they couldn't get an elbow in, they couldn't get a shoulder in. You just can't get it. He's an absolute beast of a player, but there's a lot more to his game than just being a beast. And I think it's really interesting.
Like Emre Can.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how it develops now and how it goes on, because I don't want to be sitting here week after week and saying, it's interesting and blah blah blah. He has got to score. He's got one, and he's got to keep it. And we're only 3 games in, so let's see and all that. But he's bought for a lot of money as being basically the number 1 striker at the club. Sturridge might argue with that when he comes back, but. So he's got to start scoring. Basically, he's got to start putting those chances away. But I like his attitude as well. I didn't really know what he was like as a person. Seeing him at Aston Villa, obviously in highlights and all the rest of it. But take it as a see on the pitch, and I like what I'm seeing. I like that he looks absolutely gutted, for instance, when he's not putting that away. You know what I mean? He's not just shrugging it off. So he looks like another one who's come in, who's got the right attitude again, and perhaps that's one of the reasons that they paid the money that they paid.
He's bright as anything. Unlucky not to score, also probably should score, but there's other bits to his play there as well, as Gareth saying. But also I liked his movements. It was proper number 9 movement. There's the one where he just gets caught offside, for instance, where Coutinho probably doesn't release it to him quickly enough. He's made the right run, and a lot of the worry about him coming was that he'd be a little bit flat, is that he'd be looking to just be a target man, whereas he does appear to have this ability to make runs beyond the back four and demand the ball when he's making them.
Definitely. I think I'll hold my hands up. I was a bit of a cynic when we said we were going to sign him. I didn't see how he was going to fit the style of play, but he's proved me wrong in the last few games. He's looked really good, and not only being a target man, but as you say, running in behind and occupying defenders. I know that he hasn't scored yet, but
scored against Bournemouth.
It's acting
like he hasn't scored yet. Against Bournemouth.
Sorry, but in terms of like occupying a defence, after Suarez left. And we were playing with that front three of with Sterling up front. Like there was we weren't really causing defences any problem, because they didn't have like an outstanding player that they had to really occupy. Whereas he's taken up nearly 2 centre backs sometimes every time the ball goes up to him, and it's freeing up the space for players like Coutinho and Firmino are picking up the rebounds. And so I think he's making life easier for them kind of players.
Okay, beginning to run a little short on time, Ian, so we'll shoot onto the substitutes. We've talked about Moreno, we'll talk about Ibe and Rossiter. Rossiter, debut full of promise, nibbled at them, kept going at them. Again, looked bigger than he looked when he played in the League Cup game, which is good to see. There was a lot in there, which is making you think, you wouldn't mind seeing him get 15 or 20 a year. On the other hand, it felt tough for Jordan. I felt he couldn't get into the pace of it, couldn't get into the game, couldn't get his touch going. A reminder that, again, he's a young lad and sometimes it's not going to work for Jordan Ibe.
I was going to say the other Jordan.
Yeah,
the two subs. Roster, as he brought him on, I tweeted Jordan Roster, big call. 30 seconds after Sean Rogers said this game needs Jordan Roster for some fresh legs in midfield, and obviously Sean was a lot more right than I was. He gave us those fresh legs. The first thing he did, he was biting. He played that role further up and he was biting. He was making things happen. He was calm, he was authoritative. Jordan Ibe, for me, needs taken out to the firing line a little bit at the moment, because he was on 30 seconds. He was like, this isn't going to happen, this is not going to work, the touch isn't there. You can see the reason for putting him on. We're going to put some pace on and he's going to open up Arsenal's back four, but it's just not happening. I think a couple of games out of the spotlight for him might do him a bit of good.
Ben and Gareth.
I think, well, when Roster came on, I was very surprised. But then looking at the bench, I thought probably the only person you could bring on, because ideally probably Henderson would have started that game and you would have brought Lucas on maybe to tighten things up at the back. But I think when he came on, he looked brilliant. His pressure and his closing down was exactly what we needed at that time, because I was getting to the point where I was thinking these are going to score in a minute, because they were having too much time on the ball. And then I obviously couldn't get up to the pace when he came on. But I think he should still be playing and getting some time in there, because I think he is a really good
off the
player.
bench though. Would you say off the bench?
Yeah, off the bench. I just can't, with the amount of midfielders that we've got, I can't really see him getting a start. But yeah.
It is tough to just lash them in and to also go, these are really good. They are just really good. It's almost in a sense it became, and the nature of the game was, he only gets little touches here and there, and maybe this is an experience thing where you just need them to do, not to try and do the 10 out of 10 thing, just do the 7 out of 10 thing, take the pressure off, get the ball under, let us all come up the pitch, just take a little bit of time out, and maybe because he's thinking, I've got to impress.
It is that, because you've seen before where you watch a player and you can see the player almost click himself. I'm not having a great game here. It's not on for one reason or another, and you can see them almost switch and go, I'll just play me 6 out of 10 game, and I'll try and play myself into it, get used to the pace. And I think Ibe was trying something almost every time, and he spoke out in the press to say about how desperate he is to score. You saw his reaction when he scored in pre-season as well. He's in his head, I think he's got it, that there's only a very small window for him to impress at Liverpool before maybe he gets shunted out somewhere else, which is the reality of football, unfortunately. But I think very much trying too hard, and as we've said many times, he's a young lad. I think it's one in the eye as well for these people that just kept saying all the time, you can sell Sterling and you can just put him in. They're not at the same level, and we saw that last
fine.
night.
That's absolutely level fine. He can reach. That's exceptionally high.
Yeah.
And he's going to get there at some point, and hopefully it is with us, and hopefully it's in the next couple of years. But it's going to take a little bit of time.
But just loading that on his shoulders, that was what I meant. Yeah. Just to say that Raheem Sterling, someone who would perform so well for us at times, and has gone in quite seamlessly at City, it looks like as well. To say to a lad who's played most of his football in the Championship and at lower levels, all right, lad, you go and do that now. And it's like, well, it just doesn't work like that.
It's quite hard.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much to Gareth this week. Thank you very much to Ian, Andy for producing, and Ben for coming in and doing his first show with us. Really pleased to have him in. That's been the Anfield wrap this week, as Liverpool get 7 points from 9. Win against West Ham, 10 from 12. And I know for a fact you'd all have took that before the ball was kicked. See you next time.